Welcome to the Heart of Health and Science. I'm Regenia Stull, the CNO at Liberty Hospital. Here we bring great minds together to exchange ideas that help make the world a healthier, happier place. We're coming to you today from the Story Center at Woodneath Library in Liberty, Missouri. So let's get started. Hello, nurses. My name is Regenia Stull, and I am the Chief Nursing Officer at Liberty Hospital. I've been here for about a year and a half now, and I have had such a great time getting to know the Northland, getting to know the people, the environment, the landscape. It's been such a great time in my life, in my career. And I just can't express how happy I am to meet you and to be able to share some stories about nursing and healthcare with you. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me, about myself, before we get started with our special guest today. And just let you know that it doesn't require someone to think they want to be a nurse for their entire life to go into nursing. You may want to have been a nurse for your entire life, and it may be something you're just playing with. But being a nurse is more than just taking care of someone. While that is a huge component of what we do, we also have this large science-based background. We go to school. I went to school with people in medical school. We shared the same books, the same class. We sat beside each other. We talked about sociology, physiology, anatomy, microbiology, all of the sciences. And as a result, when I came out of nursing school, I had this large science-based background that I'm able to use to help provide care to my patients. And I have a nursing background that allows me to take that science and apply it in a compassionate way to people right where they are, when they need it, where they need it, and to the point of their need. It's just something that separates nursing from healthcare in general. We look at the science and we look at a patient holistically. We put those together and then we provide the best possible care to that patient. Certainly not independent. We rely on our physician counterparts, our physician leads, and we rely on our coworkers and our assistants all the way down to our dietary staff that bring nutrition to our patients and to those that come in and make sure the rooms are clean and infection-free as possible. There's so much in healthcare. There's respiratory therapy. There is lab technicians. There are phlebotomists that come in. There are all kinds of things in healthcare that you're able to do. Pharmacy, and you can dispense the meds as well as help be part of the diagnosing of a patient condition. It's not only nursing that we're going to be talking about. That happens to be my background, and so I'm going to do a lot of talking about nursing. And I'm also going to talk some about leadership because that's truly my passion. I was able to be a nurse to patients at the bedside. I was able to bring that science and compassion to them while they were in my care. And then as I was able to advance my career, advance my education, I went into leadership because I found that nurses were providing everything they had. They were pouring everything they had into what they were doing for their patients. But they needed a nurse sometimes too. And so I went into leadership so that I could be a nurse to the nurses. And I think that's one of the most important things that I am doing now. And I think it's one of the most honorable things that I do, to be a nurse to nurses. I think it gets no better than that. So before I go on my soapbox about nursing and how amazing nursing is, I want to now switch over and talk to a special guest that we have here today. His name is Addison, and I have the opportunity to work with him on a daily basis, and we get to bounce ideas off of each other as we help maneuver the day and the activity of the day around all of the different units in our hospital. So Addison, I would like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and to just share with people what you think about nursing and what brought you to Liberty Hospital.
Yeah, so my name's Addison Hennrich. I have worked at Liberty Hospital for 7 years now, going on 7 years. I started as a CNA at Liberty Hospital in nursing school. You know, when you take your fundamentals course, you're then allowed to become a CNA and work in that role.
So just for those that don't know the healthcare language yet, they don't know our jargon, could you tell people what a CNA is and what that stands for and what they do?
Yeah, so all around the country, you're going to see it called something a little bit different, but CNA is layman's terms for certified nursing assistant.
Okay.
They play an important role in what nurses do and what everything that revolves around the patient does. Um, a CNA will do everything for the patient that the nurse will. They'll get vital signs. They will be the first eyes and ears that that patient says something to. If something goes wrong, it's the first thing that the patient, you know, it's the
So
first thing they'll
basically,
talk to.
when a patient needs something, they hit that button, the magic call light button, and a CNA or a tech is the one that comes in initially.
Yeah.
So how does that then help a nurse in what a nurse is doing for the patient?
So the nurse has overall responsibility of the patient at all times under their scope of practice. However, there are so many things that can go on in your day as a nurse. You can have your patients and you're doing X, Y, or Z for the patient, but these other three at the exact same time need something from you as a nurse. So we can delegate to the CNA and work with that CNA to get exactly what the patient needs at that moment.
So they can extend the arms and hands
Yeah.
of a nurse. So what
Yeah.
brought you into nursing?
Into nursing, that's a long story.
Oh,
So like every teenage boy, when I'm 17 or 18 years old, I have no idea what I want to do. And initially I thought maybe firefighter, which is kind of under the umbrella of helping people.
absolutely. Absolutely it is.
And around that same time, I experienced a traumatic event with my grandmother. She had a stroke, and knowing what I know now, she probably had a PFO in her heart. That probably caused multiple strokes for her. So she ended up having open heart at a local hospital around here. Um, she didn't do well as a result of that open heart. Her age, a lot of comorbidities. It was something that likely couldn't have been avoided.
That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's okay. So my mother worked, my father worked, my sisters were old enough to be either in school at a collegiate level or they were working themselves with a family of their own. And so me and my mother, we would switch shifts, either being in the hospital with her, visiting her, being at the nursing home thereafter with her. And I had a special mill nurse that primarily took care of her. It rubbed off on me. I wanted to be like him. He was very cool. He brought it down to a level that a teenage boy could understand. Nursing and healthcare is extremely complex, but bringing it down to a level that
Hmm.
you can understand is remarkable because I cared at that point about what I was doing after school and hanging out with my friends. So what's even cooler about this nurse is that I don't even know his name. At that point, dude was everyone.
Dude.
Yeah. So that was his name. But he made such a mark on me because it affected everything moving forward for me from that point on. My decision to go to college to be a nurse, marketing myself within that field at the
Hmm.
college I went to, and then moving forward into being a critical care float where I hit almost every floor in the hospital, touching each patient, whether they had open heart or they just came in because they didn't feel well.
Hmm.
Everything stemmed from that one moment with probably something that he did every day for every patient, not just my grandmother.
I find that remarkable, actually, that a male nurse would come in. Now that seems to be when I was growing up and when I was going into nursing school, it was primarily a female field.
Yeah.
And there weren't very many. In fact, in my school, at nursing school, we had one male, and his name was Eric, in school, and he brought a whole different perspective, and he changed I didn't really have a viewpoint about whether it should be female or male. I was just accustomed to it being a female field. But he really gave me a viewpoint that it has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with anything but your science-based mind and your heart of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have those two things and you have hands that want to help and help somebody get to a place of wellness, then nursing's something you should consider. So what type of things made him cool? And what type of things did he do that really caught your attention to go into nursing?
Yeah, so one of the cool things that he did was just being himself. He was a bearded man. He looked like he liked to be outdoors in the woods. He looked like a lumberjack, actually, with a scrub top on. And so that at that moment, I had the same thought as you did, even though we have the age difference of when you went to nursing school versus me. The stigma was still, males aren't nurses. It was a female dominated field. So for that was a game changer for me.
What type of things did he do that really caught your attention beyond the beard and the
Yeah,
woodsy guy?
he made it normal. He would walk in the room and his only focus was my grandmother and then me at that time, because I would have questions. I'd have family members that would come to me. They're all working and or asleep at that time. They would say, ask this to the doctors, to the nurses. And he made it normal to, sit down on the edge of the bed with her while
Mm,
I'm at the bedside. And we had a conversation like he was just another person on the street, except
yeah,
he had all the knowledge that he has.
yeah, yeah. So fast forward from that nurse to you becoming a nurse and the experiences that you've had, and what makes you remain in nursing and what makes you stay excited about nursing?
Yeah, that's a that's a
It's
big
loaded,
that's a
isn't it?
big question. So staying in nursing as a new grad, 5-ish, 6-ish years ago, um, it was being able to do that, being able to look at the patients and their family members and bring it down to the level of someone who's not in healthcare or who doesn't understand physiological body processes. Um, make them know that it's okay. It's okay to be not okay. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to, you know, be yourself in a very chaotic environment of a hospital. Um, Now, as the house manager of the organization, that revolves around getting the right patient to the right spot, providing the right skill set for that patient, and making the experience perfect for the patient on a day when it's probably the worst day of their life, being in the hospital.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easy for those of us who are in the hospital setting every day. It's really easy for us to forget that this isn't normal.
Not at all.
People would be out living their lives, but instead they're in a bed in a strange building to them,
Hmm.
in a room that has a curtain and it has a door, but people knock and just walk in. They are feeling bad. They are in a gown that isn't their own and it's open in the back, and they feel completely vulnerable, completely helpless a lot of times. And then we have that, I consider it a privilege of being one of those people that are able to go into the room to really help them and to bring them back to a place where they can get back out and they can be living their lives and doing whatever it is that they do that brings them joy and gives them fulfillment in their life. But during that brief amount of time, they're basically in our hands. The physicians, they really drive the care. They write the orders, they do their assessments and their diagnoses, and then they see other patients or oftentimes go to their offices and continue working with patients throughout the day. Whereas nursing, we are at the bedside. We are in the hospital 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it doesn't matter what time of day or night, whether it's a holiday or a weekday, there will be nurses there to take care of them. So you said this is not normal for them, but we try to give them the best experience that they can have in that situation. What are some things that you do to make that happen as a house manager, to make that happen?
Yeah, to normalize the not normal. It's to honestly act like me and you act every day. We just talk to each other like we normally would. I could see Joe, that's patient in 380, and I go in and I ask Joe, what would he be doing if he wasn't here? What
Yeah,
does your normal day look like? And we talk about that because we're not that different. We lead different lives, but Joe was 40 years younger at one point, and he was leading almost the same life that I'm leading right now. And we talk about our stories, experiences, and then we bring the nurse in that's caring for Joe.
mhm.
Um, and then they talk about the same things, and then we develop the relationship, and the relationship is everything.
Yes, yes, it is.
So it's important to remember that we're really not that different, me and the patients.
Mhm.
We're at different stages and different days right now.
Mhm.
But it's important to remember that we all live in the same community. Um, and I'm here for you. You're going to be there for me when I need something, on a different day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of the aspects of nursing that keeps it alive. One of the things that strikes me about nursing is that there are so many things that you can do within nursing.
Hmm.
You can work in a hospital setting, and within that hospital, you can work in critical care.
Hmm.
You can work in the nursery. You can be on a telemetry unit monitoring someone's heart. You can be in the surgery area. From admission to discharge, from beginning to end, there are nurses there. If you don't want to be in a hospital, you can be in a long-term care center. You can be a school nurse. You can be a school nurse in an elementary school up to a university setting. You can be in a lawyer's office. You can be in an insurance office. You can be on a cruise ship. You can be at Disney. There are so many things that you can do as a nurse. I selected to remain in a hospital setting so I can be a nurse to nurses. You've selected to remain in a hospital setting,
Yeah.
so that you can continue uh, making sure that the patients are in the right place at the right time while in our care. What are some things that you find especially challenging through the course of the day, and what are some things you're really hopeful about for the future of nursing?
Yeah. Some of the things that go through my head on a day-to-day basis that are challenging, staffing. That is a huge component of
Hmm.
nursing, and then taking care of the bulk patients that we have at any given hospital.
Hmm.
You could be here or you could be in Australia at a hospital, and staffing is an issue. So we have to plan for the right skill set to take care of patients on this floor, make sure that we have the right nurses on each shift, how many nurses we need on each shift. And then we deal with everyday illness, just like our patients are experiencing. People will call in for the flu,
Yes.
people call in for COVID, and then life events happen. People have family emergencies, people need a day off. So we deal with that. And that's one of the struggles that me and my job and my supervisors face, is managing that on a day-to-day basis. Um, Something that I'm really hopeful for is things like this show, is getting nursing on the map,
Yes.
making nursing cool because it's really cool. So I mean, seriously, nursing, like you said, you can go from being at an insurance agency as a nurse,
Mhm.
a law office.
Mhm.
I could go do that tomorrow because the demand is so high. I don't want to, because I love what I do, but I could if I wanted to. So I'm excited about the future of nursing as we gain more of them, as
Mhm.
we gain more knowledge into the
Mhm.
field, raise the younger nurses as they graduate from nursing school, and then make them into the next Florence Nightingales of the career. We certainly have a ton of them that I know that are excellent nurses that can rival that.
Yes. We
But
have we have amazing nurses at our hospital.
yeah.
So one thing, Addison, that you just said is that staffing is an issue everywhere. What do you mean? Is it just because nurses don't want to work, or what is it that you mean when you say staffing is an issue?
Yeah, so
I'm
it
thinking maybe is there a shortage?
yeah, there's a shortage. Um, so in the Kansas City area alone, we're down, I think, 5,000-ish nurses. That number isn't a hard number. It's around that. Um, but we're seeing a lot of baby boomers retire, that have been nurses for their entire career. And we have so many nursing schools in every city, and then we have so many seats in each nursing school that they're allowed to fill. And that's on the state legislator level.
Mhm.
Um, so we see a shortage because of that. And we also see a shortage because nurses sometimes get bored in what they're exactly doing at that moment. They'll go to a different field of nursing, and so then we have to then bring a new one in to the acute care setting. We have to train them, and then go from there. Um,
Right. There's also a lot of concern in our industry about nursing schools
yeah.
and universities that have nursing schools in them, that there aren't enough instructors. and they're not able to fill a classroom anymore like they had been able to. And so we don't have as many people going into nursing because there aren't as many seats in a university setting.
Mhm.
Also, while in that setting, there are a lot of people that are saying, I thought I wanted to go into nursing. This is not what I thought it was. So they decide to make a career change before they get into the career. So there is a lot that's really pressuring those numbers within nursing. How do you think we can, within our organization specifically, what are some things that we have done that you find has been really well received and has been exciting for our nurses to be able to say that they have a voice in their nursing practice?
Yeah, so professional governance jumps out at you. That is by far the largest thing that our organization has done for the nurses to have voices and truly make a difference in their
Hmm.
everyday workflow.
Hmm.
So our professional governance model consists of multiple councils. Staff members either volunteer or are elected to become on those councils. You have chair, co-chair, and it's kind of a revolving door of decisions being made on those councils. So if I'm a staff nurse on the floor, I identify that this is not a real example. I identify that we need more bananas in the break room. That's a heavy cost for the organization, and that we can't do that. Well, through professional governance, I take that to my committee. My committee chair says, "Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that all the nurses need that." Um, we go to the next committee because it passed this committee, and then we talk about it again, and we maybe look at the financials of this. We maybe look at the logistics of it, and then it finally goes to leadership committee, in the sense that, okay, it's gone through XYZ committee, and the nurses think this is going to be a good idea for our organization. What do we think as a group? We evaluate the pros and cons, and then we listen to our nurses. At that moment, we say, I'm not the one working on the unit. I'm the one that is doing these roles because that's a part of my duty. Um, and then we pass it. We roll out with a rollout date of that decision, and we make it happen. So the end result of all of that is, one, the nurses are happier. They have a voice. They secondly get what they need and want. And thirdly, we have an organization that is constantly promoting new leaders. Um, Whether they believe it or not in that moment when they're making those decisions, they're practicing becoming a leader.
Addison, I loved how you talk about how the professional governance model that we've implemented helps people go into leadership or start thinking like a leader, or start looking at all of the different aspects that come into each decision that is made as an organization. So, to use your voice, if you were to speak to any nurse out there or any prospective nurse that's out there, a nursing student, what would you say is something that they could be thinking about doing that could impact their career, they could impact the lives of someone else, or even the entire country of healthcare? I know that was a loaded question, by the way. And
Yeah.
I'd like for you to then go right into what is your favorite story in nursing?
Yeah, if I could speak to any given person that's considering becoming a nurse, I would say go out and go to a hospital and volunteer. Um,
Great advice.
you can even add to that, go give blood. I need you to be a person who is compassionate and cares. And that's the heart of every issue, because we keep patients at every decision we make.
Hmm.
And that's not loaded. That is exactly what every nurse will tell you.
Yeah, you're right.
We
You're
make the
right.
decision to care about the patient. Whatever decision we make, it's about the patient. Does it affect them? And in what way?
Okay, I love how you said that the patient is at the heart of everything that we do. I agree with you completely. So, before we leave, I want to ask you one final question, and that is, what is your favorite story as a nurse that you've experienced so far? I know it's loaded. I know
Lord.
it could be anything, but what's your favorite experience as a nurse?
So I wasn't even a nurse. I was a nursing student.
Okay.
It was my very first clinical at Liberty Hospital.
Okay.
Can you imagine that? I stayed close to home. So, as a nursing student, you're with a nurse for the day. You're paired with them, and you do everything they do, and you ask, "Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this?" Well, I didn't even get the opportunity to ask because I think I was probably annoying. I was excited. I wanted to get in there and do everything. So this nurse said, "Hey, we're doing something so cool. We don't do them very often."
Yes, I want to go. That's
Yeah.
what you said, right?
Yeah, I did. So I go in this room and I even grabbed a classmate of mine. I said, "We're going to do this thing. I don't know what it is, but it's cool."
It's so cool.
Yeah. And so we go in this room. And for the nurses out there that are listening, you're going to know exactly what this is.
Exactly.
We gave a milk and molasses enema that day.
Okay.
So the very first nursing action I did was gave an enema. And a milk and molasses is the enema of all enemas.
This is your favorite nursing story.
Yeah, it is. I tell this to almost everyone who asks about my experience. So I'm giving it with the help of the nurse, obviously, and we got sprayed. And so in that moment, I knew I'm dirty, and the patient says a sentence to me. "I feel so much better." I said, "Wonderful. I'm going to leave now." And I left. The instructor says, "Addison, go home. You've done all you can today." And that was my very first experience in nursing, and I knew I wanted to be in that for the rest of my life.
And on that, we will conclude our
Yep.
very first podcast. Thank you so much for coming and joining me today. Wow. You've been a nurse for a number of years now, and that story still reigns true to you.
It's the thing I remember most.
I'm sure your instructor remembers that as well. So I want to thank you for coming. I want to wish you much success in your continued journey through nursing. I want you very much to stay exactly where you are, knowing that you're going to continue growing and that you're going to continue advancing. Hopefully you will tune back in for our next podcast, where we will be talking about culture changes that are happening within the hospital at Liberty Hospital. We have spent a year working on the fundamentals of culture, what's working well, what's not working well, what we need to improve upon. And we have done that under the direction of our president and CEO, Dr. Raghu Adiga, who will be joining us at our next podcast session. And I'd like to invite you, our viewers and listeners, to send us your ideas for topics. If you have an idea for a future episode, let me hear from you. Just go to libertyhospital.org/connect to submit your ideas. I can't wait to see them. Thank you for joining us on today's exploration into the heart of health and science, brought to you by Liberty Hospital in Kansas City's beautiful Northland. To subscribe for more episodes, read our digital magazine, explore career opportunities, and more, visit us at libertyhospital.org/connect.